Hey guys, welcome back. This is Dave. I wanted to bring you the results for my test results, number one, part one. And I want to do them in increments so that I'm not putting together a real long video. And it seems like the TC rating is really out of the 13 races that I went back and back tested. The Thoroughcapping rating is doing two things. One, out of the nine of 13 races that I looked at, it's producing the winner out of the top four. Okay. Now, what it's not doing consistently is telling me that the top target rating, Thoroughcapping rating, is actually the winner. That's the one thing that's not happening in every race, which is fine. It doesn't have to happen, as long as we're getting something that's pointing us in the right direction of four selections, which is my goal anyway. When I'm doing my summary grid, I come down, I narrow it down to the top four, and it doesn't matter what order I put them in. If I'm betting to win, I'm looking for the best value out of them four anyway, or I'm looking for the two out of the four that are showing some decent value and put my win money on there. So ranking 1 through 4 does not really matter in this sense. Secondly, if you look at my summary grid, let's say from this is a bad race to use, the first one, because there was a scratch of the 6. There was only 5 horses, and if you look at the top 4 in TC rating, they were the top 4 in the finish. But we also had them on the summary grid as well, 4, 2, 3, 1, after we removed the 6. But I want to go down and start on race number 3. Race number 3, the thing about when we use the summary grid here, when we have the qualitative, the matrix side, and the pace velocity figures done, this gives us a good indication of what we should have here. Who are our contenders? But at the same time, we look at our contenders now and we say, okay, well, who am I going to put number 1? Now, my eyes tell me the 7 and maybe the 4 should be the first one. But again, I'm speculating, okay, because the 1 shows up in here as well, and so on. At least now we may have something that's going to tell us how to rank them, in what order. Even though, again, the rank doesn't matter, but it also tells us which of those 4 we should pull out of that group of 5. Or out of the group of 6, or however many we have in the contender selection area. It may tell us these are the top 4 that we need to use. Rank them how you see fit, or use them how you see fit. But if we look at race number 3 here, the 4, and we had this in the summary grid too, 4, 5, 7, 1. It came out 4, 7, 2, 6. So the 2 horse we did not have. We would not have the try if we used all 4 of them, let's say, and boxed them. But at the same time, the TC ratings, in fact, the top TC rating pointed us to a $14 winner. But at the same time, I had that 4 on top anyway, along with the 7, and it came out 4-7. We did have that 4-7 exacta just off this grid alone, and our eyes told us that those were the numbers we should be using. If we look down at Emerald 4, 1, 2, 4, 6, 7 were my contenders. 6, 7, 1, 2 was what I used as my selection ranking. And race 4 on here told me that the 1, 3, 6, and the 7 should have been the ones that were used. Now, I want to show you something I did. In this race, notice I have the 3 here showing up once. And that was the what do you call it? The target rating. I'm sorry, trainer. It was a trainer mention. But when I went to that race, and I just put them numbers in, unbiasedly, without looking at where they rank here, that hidden algorithm in here put that horse as 4th, okay? But it still put him in the top 4. So what that's telling me is that just listing 2 here or 3 here is not telling me everything I need. It's going to help me out. I'm over here now, race 4. It's going to help me out at times, which it has been. But at the same time, this may be a better way to really pull those top 4 horses without ignoring something that you should have ignored. Now, again, we had a $30 winner here on this 3, and we also had the exacta in here, the 3-6 exacta. Now, my grid had the 6 as the number 2 choice, along with the 7. Now, we didn't get to try, but it is what it is, right? No, we did get to try. That was race 4. We had 3 of the top 4 horses in the TC rating rankings. Okay, so that's good there. Number 4, we had an 8-horse field. It came out 1, 7, 2, 8. We did not have the 3rd and the 4th choice in the top 4 rankings, but we did have the first 2, even though the chalk won the race. The summary grids, I had the 1 listed at 3rd. Now, again, I should have listed the 1. That was me being hard-headed and knowing that the 1 was going to be the favorite and trying to beat the 1 and finding reasons why the 3 should beat the 1 and so on and so forth. But again, the ranking order doesn't matter to begin with. But 3, 7, 1, 6 opposed to 1, 7, 2, and 8 were the top 4 finishers. Race 6. Here's a $45 winner on the 2-horse. And the 2 horses, again, 4th in the rankings here. The 5, who finished 3rd, is 91.1, 90.9. But our top 4 finished here. And we had a $45 horse on top. Now, this race here, I originally had the 2 scratched. When I did the eyeball in the beginning, I looked here and I said, you know what, this horse here is not worthy of keeping. And I tossed him out in my qualitative scan, but then what I did was I used him in my testing, and I did the numbers on my own, or actually, is that not race 6? Race 6, I think, was the same pattern, though. I tossed the 2 out, but I did, what I did was, I didn't write them down here, but I did them in my head, okay? We had a 108.1, which is a 99, plus minus another 6. That's a 93 target rating. And I just went along and I put them in the grid, 93. Found the ability race. Ability race came out to a 97. And then I did my target speed. That 93 plus the 73 would be a 166. Punched it in. Okay? So the work isn't done on the grid, but I just did it in my head mentally as I went along last night and I did the testing. And sure enough, this horse ended up ranking in the top 4 in the TC rating. And he won the race at paid $45. And on top of that, we had the trifecta and the superfecta. So again, it's only one race. You know, you can roll dice or throw darts and come up with them 4 as well. But there's some consistency starting to show here. We look at Emerald Down 7. We did not have the winner. Okay, the 1 horse won the race. Came out to an 86.5. We had the 2nd and 3rd place. 95.6, 92.6. Emerald 8. We had a $5.60 winner here. And that was the 2nd choice in the TC rating. And the 1st choice actually ended up coming in 2nd in the exacta. Now we went to Saratoga. Okay, Saratoga from 722. And I did leave some races out. I left maiden special weight with a lot of first-time starters out. And I left a race, or maybe 2 out, maybe I think just 1, that was over 1 1/8 miles. I think it might have been a mile. No, actually it might have been 1 1/8 miles race with a ton of horses that were coming out of 1 mile races. Never ran 1 1/8 miles. Never even ran 1.16 miles. And that was just one of those quirky, intangible races that I just left out of the I didn't bet it on that particular day anyway. So I didn't bother using it here. But if you look at Saratoga 2, we start off with the winner at a 76.9. So the winner did not produce anything, and I didn't put prices down for when the grid did not produce. Okay, the second race, however, top rating was the 1, but yet second best rating was the 8, and the 8 won and paid $13.20. Okay, so we did have the winner and the exacta out of these top 4. Saratoga 5. The 90.4 was our top rating, and it did produce the favorite. Paid $4.50. We had the exacta, the try, and the super out of an 8-horse field. The grid pointed us in the direction of the top 4. All right, the 6th race. I forgot that I didn't write down the price here, but we did have the winner, and this was the 5-horse field. This was the 5-horse stakes race. We had the winner. The second place horse was the 5-horse. We did not have him on the table. So I think the favorite won this race anyway, so it didn't pay much. Now we look here, race 8. $27.60 horse. Now, again, he's the 4th in the rankings, but at the same time, that may have been a horse looking at this may have been a horse that we left out using the summary grids because our eyes have way too much to look at here, and we do not have an actual way of taking these here and cutting them down to the top 4. Unless you really, really have a preference on categories that you look for. Like I look at the target category and so on. But this here may do the work for you. Saratoga 10. Top choice. 92.8. Produced a winner, but it was a favorite. Second place was up here. We didn't have the exacta, but we had the 3 and the 4. All right, so there's 13 races, and 9 out of 13, the winner was in the top 4, with, I'd venture to say, probably about 5 exactas in there as well. So, what is it telling me? It's telling me that I should continue to test this and see how it goes. I mean, 13 race sample is by far not close to being, an indication that how truly successful this is. But at the same time, I'm probably going to just use this as a portion of my handicap, and along with adding now the qualitative grid over here on this side. And an idea that I'm playing around with is for every time a horse shows up in a qualitative category, maybe add to this TC rating. Put a formula in that, let's say, for example, this was a turn move category. If this horse has a 1 here, boom, I'll have the formula where this automatically will go from a 75.2 to a 76.2. And let's say, for example, he's now coming out of let's say this was the key race category. We may go and a key race may be worth 2 points. So if there's a 2 next to that horse's name, that will jump up another 2 points. Now he'd be at a 78.2 instead of a 75.2. But again, I don't want to go and just assign values to over here and skew these numbers right now. But I am playing with an idea where how can I take these qualitative factors and turn them into some sort of quantitative factors that will affect these ratings here. And my goal is to eventually just be able to use these ratings solely on what am I going to use as my 4 selections and how am I going to bet the race using these 4 selections. Something like the trainer rating might not be 1 point. It might be a 0.5. Because you get a lot of horses that are showing up in this trainer rating category simply because there are a lot of different trainer ratings that I include to put a horse here. A class drop might be worth a 1 point move. I might even put a class up, moving up in class, maybe a minus 0.5. Down the road, that'll just, I'll let you know. I'm just trying to share some ideas that I'm thinking about as far as tying these factors into this over here. Because what I don't want to do is have these set in stone, and then say, oh, well, wait a second. This horse here is a 77.1, but he is coming out of a key race, and he's coming off a turn move too. And then, again, we're back to square one when we were trying to figure out this grid here. So I want to be able to tie them in to where they actually affect the TC rating. And we can just simply look at this here and test this or play by this. So I may do that even today, play around with this grid. All right, thanks for tuning in. I will keep you guys updated as soon as I get more results.